Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mashpee Men's Club on this beautiful day. We always begin our meetings with a salute to the flag. We had to go looking for our flag. Somebody stole it this morning, so we're dealing with a little guy, but that's okay. It'll still serve the purpose for us. So Burke is going to do us the honors of leading us in the salute this morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Catherine is our speaker today, and it's with great pleasure that I introduce her, because Catherine and I have known each other for near on to 20 years now. And we've done this as she was busy installing recycling in the community. I was interested in trash haulers in the community because of the wear and tear on the roads of our villages and so forth. So Catherine and I got together many, many times and talked trash. It's the thing I always like to do. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details. The presentation will speak for itself. But there's no question that she has great background, having been in municipal government for many, many years, and has worked in the towns of Danvers and, let's see, one other time.
Chatham,
that's what it was, Chatham. And so she's got great background with a lot of experience and has her degree in engineering from Lafayette College down in Pennsylvania. So I won't belabor it, but there's a lot of stuff going on here. If you've been paying attention to all of the projects in the town, the glue that holds all of these projects together are her roads. If those roads aren't in shape, these projects will be stymied. So therefore, let's hear what's going on in the roads in Mashpee. Catherine, you're on.
thank you. Thank you all for having me here today. I was talking earlier about that. I think the last time I made a presentation to the Men's Club was back in 2009. So I guess I was due for another visit. So I do have a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation, and then at the end, I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have. So the Department of Public Works, we are roads, but we are more than that. We are actually responsible for all of the town's infrastructure. So I put together a couple of slides just kind of to review that. So as Brad mentioned, all of the town's roads, which do include Route 130 and 151, those are state-numbered, town-owned roads. All of the sidewalks and multi-use paths throughout the town, all of the town's parks and beaches fall under DPW. All of the town's building, including our 3 schools, are part of our Department of Public Works. And then we also maintain at our DPW facility all of the town's vehicles. That includes police and fire. We support all of the town's emergency management. As Brad mentioned, we kind of think, if we're not there, police and fire can't respond. We maintain the town cemetery, Great Neck Woods, down off of Great Neck Road South, as well as several ancient burial grounds. We are responsible for plowing and sanding of all of the roads in town. We maintain and oversee the operation of the transfer station. We maintain the town-owned boat ramps and the town-owned street lights. And then we do have special projects. So that's our daily work. And then we have special projects that we're responsible for. And I listed just a few. And I'm happy to answer questions at the end about any of the specific projects. But we have 2 dam removal culvert replacement projects that we're currently under design and looking to start construction within the next few years. One is at Red Brook on Red Brook Road. As part of that project, we also will be elevating the road. That is a low-lying road that is subject to storm surge. So we're trying to gain some elevation that would prevent inundation of stormwater in a storm. Mashpee River Dam, that is the Mashpee River crossing on Route 130 at Lake Avenue. So that is classified because of the herring run, that is classified as a dam. We are actually proposing to remove the dam. There still would be fish passage, but it would be a natural stream fish passage and putting in a larger culvert there. Mashpee Wakeby Pond boat ramp, we're working with the state. That is actually a state-owned boat ramp, but the town does oversee the operation of that facility. So we're working with the state and should be going out this fall, hopefully with a grant to reconstruct that entire parking lot. We're not expanding the parking lot, but we'll be doing a lot of stormwater infrastructure as part of that project. Santuit Pond Landing, the town just issued a contract to redo the landing off of Timber Lane, which is for Santuit Pond. There'll be a new ramp, a new float system for a pier float system for fishing, as well as some increased parking for the facility. And then a DNR storage yard, which is related to a capital facility project. But right now, our Department of Natural Resources, they have a storage facility next to the police station, and they will be, as part of that project, they're going to be kicked out of that location. So we're going to be building them a new storage facility off of Red Brick Road next to the fire substation. Our capital facility projects, right now we're working with the school on an HVAC upgrade at the middle high school. The town had funded at this past town meeting monies to basically replace that HVAC system to provide cooling. So all of the buildings have heat. They had limited cooling. So this past, last year, we upgraded the Casey Coombs School to provide air conditioning. The middle high school is this year, and we're under design now to do the same project at the Quashnet School. War Memorial Phase 2, I'm working with the Historical Commission on another monument. The existing monument at the community park was through the Vietnam War. This next monument will include all of the conflicts since a lot of the Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran conflicts. New police station, so we are under design. That was capital funding was approved at the Maytown meeting. So we're looking to be going out to bid for construction probably before the end of this coming year, with construction happening over the next 18 months. That facility is going to be built behind the existing police station. They'll stay in operation at that location and then move into the new facility, and that will be demolished. And then lastly, DPW, our building at DPW was built in 1985, has not been renovated since. So there was funding approved to start design for an expansion renovation of that facility. And then DPW is also responsible for overseeing use of all of the town facilities. So that includes use after school hours at the schools, use of the athletic fields at Heritage Park. And then we do assist other town departments, including recreation, conservation, DNR, and wastewater. Is still to be determined what our role will be in that. And then I call this the fun facts. So some of the things that you may not necessarily think of that DPW does. So we have 43 full-time employees and up to 12 seasonal. So our employees, again, because we're responsible for the town's buildings, that includes all of the custodial staff. So the custodians that clean this building, town hall, as well as the schools, and then our outside roads and park staff. Our total operating budget is just over $8.1 million. So that's just our annual operating budget. We do have other funding that we get, Chapter 90 from the state for road improvements, other grants, but that is our operating budget. We maintain all 244 of the town roads, and that number does change. We have upcoming on October town meeting, we have two neighborhood that's petitioning to become a town road. And that's about 85 miles and then 12 miles of sidewalk multi-use paths. We plow all of the roads in town, which is about 150 miles. I like to say it's 300 lane miles, just because you're obviously paving or plowing both directions. That includes town and private. And then our parks and beaches cover approximately 70 acres. Heritage Park itself is 20 acres inside, so that's a lot of fields that the town maintains and provides for our Mashpee youth. We're responsible for hanging all the Christmas lights around town. So that's about 11,000 lights that we put up every year at the Mashpee Rotary. And we now also do the lighting at the Community Park Veterans Garden. As I said, we're responsible for the schools. Last year, we put down about 2,000 or used 2,000 gallons of line paint for all of the line painting for their athletics. At the DPW facility, we actually collect medical sharps. So last year, we collected about 30 cubic yards of medical sharps. So we do have containers that we give to people for free. They bring them back, and then we send them out for disposal. We also collect at the DPW any emergency flares, so road flares, boat flares. We do collect those once they've expired. There are 25 flags around town that I guess whenever this past year seems like we had quite a few times that we had to raise and lower them. So it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is going around to all of the different facilities to raise and lower those every single time is some time out of our day. And then we also have been very proactive on not only improving energy efficiency in our buildings, but also adding solar capacity. So between our existing projects, we've generated last year over 2.6 million kilowatt hours of electricity between the systems at the landfill and then on the roofs at a number of buildings, including this building here. And with our police station project, we are looking at installing solar to help offset that electrical use. I did want to talk a little bit about snow plowing. We were getting close to the snow season. So the town's policy is that we do plow all roads that are open to the public as long as they meet the minimum standards. We also plow all of the town's parking lots. So that creates a little bit of a challenge just depending on the timing of the storm to try to maintain the facilities, open, particularly school during the day if that's the storm happens during normal business hours. Our focus is obviously, main roads at the initial part of the storm, and then we get into the neighborhoods. We have divided the town into 22 routes. There's one of our route maps to give you an example. Each route is about 6.5 miles. That's 13 miles. And the reason for that is we use all of the town's trucks, so that's about 20 trucks that we use through DPW when we do hire private contractors. I mentioned that I was here in 2009. At that time, we had almost 24 private contractors that came to work for the town. Last year, we had 2. So we try to stay competitive in what we pay, but the private contractors just aren't interested in working for the town anymore. So bear with us if we have any significant storm. We will get to you. It's just going to take some time just because of the limited resources. And then snow and ice is actually the only budget in the town that is allowed to deficit spend. Obviously, you can't predict what Mother Nature is going to bring, so we can deficit spend that. Transfer station. Transfer station on Asher's Path. So we handle about 3,200 tons of municipal solid waste every year, 700 tons of recyclables, 250 tons of scrap metal, and 1,000 cubic yards of yard waste. We sell about 4,500 stickers every year and another 1,400 recycling stickers. The way the select board policy has been is that they believe that the users should be paying for that operation. So if you have, trash collection in your neighborhood that you pay for separately, you shouldn't be having to pay for the operation of the transfer station. So the last 2 years, through the sticker fees, through the gate receipts, through other revenue sources, that has supported the operation of the transfer station. And we'll talk about this later, that is fluctuating our recycling market. So right now we do get paid for scrap metal and tin cans. Cardboard and glass, we're not paying to dispose of, we're not receiving revenue. And then the other items, we do have to pay a tip fee. But we are mandated by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to recycle. So there are certain waistband items, your plastics, your glass, your paper, your cardboard, that we have to collect separately. So it's not a choice, but it does come at a cost to the town. And so that brings up the bigger question about solid waste management on Cape Cod. We are a little bit unique compared to other parts of the state, where a lot of our costs for handling solid waste is transportation. So we worked with the Cape Cod Commission a few years ago with the other towns on Cape Cod and the islands to look at what our options are. And the recommendation, well, I guess, and some of the challenges are, so in this Commonwealth of Massachusetts, your capacity for disposal is decreasing. Landfills are no longer allowed. Waste to energy facilities are no longer allowed. So you're not building new facilities. The existing facilities are filling up. So that is resulting in diminishing capacity. Recycling markets, as we just mentioned, are challenging. They're very inconsistent. But the last several years, we've had to pay for most of the products just because there aren't markets for reuse. Transportation, as I mentioned, is a huge cost, and our disposal contracts, just because of that limited capacity, has increased almost double. And just to show you, here's a breakdown of what is in municipal solid waste. So a lot of that is organics. Almost a third of what is collected in your trash is actually organics. We do in Mashpee, we do collect at our transfer station both food waste and yard waste. So there is an opportunity to divert that stream. It's been growing, but it's still not a lot of use.
It's stinky too.
So looking as a region, through the study, waste to rail, by rail seemed to be the best option to transport our waste out of state to other facilities. That would reduce our gas emissions, greenhouse gas emissions on the total life cycle. So that's the transportation, that's disposal. The cost savings to the region would be about 50% over 15 years. We do have 2 rail facilities that are available, the Upper Cape Regional Transfer Station on the base, as well as a facility in Yarmouth. It also gives us the option, if we do have a hurricane or other storm in the future, to deal with storm debris. But a big component of that would be continuing to increase the diversion of material from the waste stream. Route 151, corridor improvement. So phase 2 of the project just was awarded the bid this past spring and is going to be resuming construction, has resumed construction for this season. That work includes the extension of the multi-use path on the north side of the road and construction of a sidewalk on the south side of the road up to Winslow Drive. There will be a left turn lane at Algonquin Avenue, and between Ninnegrint and Old Brickyard will be a center turn lane to accommodate the traffic turning into the businesses along that stretch. And then the entire road, we're looking at significant drainage improvements and reconstruction of the road itself. Again, 151 is a town-owned road. We did the design for the project, but construction is being paid through state and federal monies. Phase 2 cost was about $23 million. Phase 1 was about $30 million. And there are plans on the DPW website, but here is just one section of Phase 2. So from Ninnegrit west to Old Brickyard is the center turn lane. There is going to be a curbed island that continues from Ninnegrit up towards Algonquin, so to prevent that traffic from turning across the lanes. Multi-use path on the north side and the sidewalk on the south side. An extension of the corridor improvement project is the state is looking at a retrofit of the Mashpee Rotary. The project goals are obviously to improve safety, reduce congestion, provide accommodation for all users. The Rotary is, no surprise, a high accident count location, most of those accidents being rear-end crashes. So through the Cape Cod Commission, a study was looked at, looking at different alternatives to do something with the Rotary. One was a Rotary retrofit. One was to reduce the size of the Rotary into more of a roundabout. They looked at an overpass, so Route 28 being an overpass, and then a traffic signal, so getting rid of the Rotary and trying to create a signalized intersection. Then they looked at 3 different concepts involved with that, and that included reducing it from a 5-road signal to a 4-road, so one of the roads would be diverted. And as a result of that study, the retrofit was selected. So here's a preliminary conceptual design of what the retrofit would look like. The Rotary itself would be maintained. They would upgrade the pavement markings and signage. There would be some minor adjustments to the approaches into the Rotary to try to reduce those accidents, those rear-end accidents. There would be incorporating the bike and pedestrian connections to the connecting roads, and then consolidate and remove some of the curb cuts for the businesses on the Rotary. So this is a Mass DOT project. The state does own the Rotary. They divided the project into 2 phases. The first phase would be the Rotary itself, as well as going back on the approaches to certain locations. And then phase 2 would be continuing on Route 28, going towards Barnstable, all the way up to the Meeting House Road intersection. They have awarded a contract to start engineering design. There will be a public hearing at the 25% design stage, but they have not identified a funding source or come up with a schedule for when the work would proceed. So they've started the project, but there's really no time frame at this point. And that's all I had. So happy to answer any questions about these projects or anything else you may have.
You had mentioned that the snow plowing is the only part of the Mashpee annual budget that can go into deficit mode. Mm-hmm. In those years when you don't have much snow, can you bank that money for later years? Oh,
no, and so no, you're not allowed to save. And I have to say, I think we've only had 1 year that we have not gone into deficit. The town has not changed the amount that it budgets in the 25 years that I've been here. So it's about $115,000 that's budgeted. Just purchasing salt for the year takes up about 3/4 of that budget. So before we even start winter, we've already spent 3/4 of that money just purchasing salt. Yes.
Me? First, let me compliment your department. I mean, I've only lived here for 10 years, but I've lived in several other communities, and yours compares admirably with much larger communities. You do a great job.
Thank you.
My question concerns when the construction on 151 will begin, and how will it affect Algonquin Ave? I live on a street off Algonquin Ave. In the past, what's happened is that when 151 is stopped, the traffic all goes by my little tiny house on a little tiny street way off the road. What's gonna happen? Where's the traffic going, and when is it gonna start?
So you may have noticed that the electronic message board signs have gone out this week. So we will be starting, they've been out doing a little bit of preliminary work, but construction will resume starting next week. Next week, it'll be drainage work starting at the Falmouth Town Line, working its way east. And at this point, we're not proposing any detours as part of this part of the project. It just would be alternating traffic, so there may be some delays. When we do impose detours, when we get to probably the milling and paving of the road, we'll be detouring people on Old Barnstable. So similar to, I think, what we did for phase 1, we kept one lane or one direction open and then detoured one direction. So that would be the plan when we need to do the detour.
Thank you.
But just so everyone knows, similar to phase 1 of the project, this is going to be a multi-year, just because of the amount of the scope of the project, the amount of work that has to be done. We'll continue through winter, weather permitting, but we do have the shutdown in the summer between Memorial Day and Labor Day. So they are anticipating that this is going to be a 3 to 4 year project.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When will
Yeah.
the construction begin again on Route 151, this side of the rotary?
So it should be starting drainage work next week, is the plan. Yes.
Catherine, do you still publish the no plow list of private roads?
So the policy has changed somewhat. So we used to do inspections to look at and make sure that vegetation was trimmed back on the private roads, that there weren't any potholes. The policy now is we don't do the inspections. The only thing that would prevent a road from being plowed is if it was the road surface itself was in poor condition, where it would potentially damage the town's vehicles. What we tell people is, please continue to trim back your roads, but we will plow to the best of our ability. So if there's overhanging vegetation that we can't plow the full, two directions, 2 lanes, we'll do the best that we can. Yes.
Coming from Southport onto Old Barnstable and then coming across the 151 intersection. This has been built, rebuilt, enormous amount of money has been spent for that intersection. And yet we have the same old problem that when you come out, turn to 151, and you want to make a left turn down towards the rotary, that left turn signal is so short that we have a jam up there all the time. There's the extra lane, there's virtually nothing. Not that it matters, because if you can get 4 cars through there to begin with, it's a triumph. And it seems to me that even just adding 15 seconds to the left turn signal, after all this money spent, would do more for traffic flow there than everything else that's been done. Is this possible?
So we will continue to monitor. So the traffic signal, it's obviously a brand new signal intersection. We added the dedicated left turn lane. So now, before you were you had opposing traffic that you were trying to take the left. Now it's a dedicated cycle. It is video detection. The old system was loop detection. This is video detection. So it does adjust the timing of the signal based on the number of vehicles that it detects trying to take that movement. But at a busy time of day, I'm thinking, with the middle high school being on the opposite side, there's still going to be, someone might have to wait a couple of cycles to get through. The primary traffic direction focus is Route 151. That's still where the majority of your traffic is, and that's what's going to dictate the cycle. But there is an adjustment that's made, like I said, based on what's detected. We did make some modifications because people were cutting the corner so that it wasn't, the video camera wasn't picking up the turning movements. So we have made some adjustments to that. But if we'll continue to monitor, feel free to call my office or send me an email, and we can take a look at that. But there is always going to be a limited time frame for that movement.
Catherine?
Yes.
One of the answers is that it all depends on the first person in line. If they move, I've had no problem being the fifth car if that works. The real problem there is coming on Old Barnstable Road the other way, where they can take a right turn on red. They try and beat you every time, and I don't know how many crashes that's caused, but I'd like to participate in one with one of those people, because that messes up the whole left turn. I
Right.
don't know what you can do about.
Right. I mean, we
just-
do.
Or you could say no right turn.
We could post, so right now, you can take that right on red.
Yeah.
We could post it as no right turn on red. That may affect, when 151 is the through traffic is going, that, that would prevent people from taking that right if there was no traffic on 151, and then it becomes also an enforcement issue.
Yeah, well, it hampers the people trying to
Sure.
turn left from our side.
Yeah, so like I said, we will continue to monitor the intersection and make adjustments. Yes,
So one of my pet peeves with 151 is the manhole covers.
Oh,
Some
it's not
municipalities, they can make it almost seamless.
Right.
But these on 151 and Phase 1 are a disaster. And you can see the cars trying to drive and to miss them.
right,
So first of all, I don't think there's ever been a drainage problem on 151. I've been here since 1956.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I don't know why we had to put all that drainage in. If you notice, Falmouth just did 2 miles of, from the Mashpee Falmouth
Mm-hmm.
town line going west. They did 2 or 3 miles of repaving
Mm-hmm.
and relining with no manhole covers. So somehow, maybe we should hire their guy to do our, our manhole covers, or to look at whether we really need them or not. But it's not good, and so is there
Sure.
any way, first of all, when you're doing the road, can't you put them in the middle so the cars will straddle them? That's number one. And number two, if you can't do that, and you need to put them so the cars have to go over them, why can't you make it so they're seamless, like a lot of municipalities
Right.
do?
sure. So I have had that conversation with Mass DOT. Because of the funding, they were responsible for construction. So we did raise that question with them, and they indicated there's nothing further that they could do. We'll
They can raise
continue
them.
to follow up. But part of the design is, and Falmouth was just a resurfacing. So this was because of the funding source and the project, we had to bring our drainage into compliance with the state stands.
Maybe we
So,
shouldn't have gone along with the funding, maybe we should have just done the road right.
so then that would have been a $50+ million project that the town.
We didn't need the bicycle lanes, and we didn't need the sidewalk
Okay.
on both sides of the road,
Okay,
and we don't need the drainage.
right.
So, all that money was just a waste of money.
Right. So we did need the extension of the multi-use path and the sidewalk. We do have, particularly with the middle high school being there, and the neighborhoods on both sides. So those are facilities that are utilized. So that was an interest of the town to provide that accommodation, particularly for this upcoming phase 2. And if you're building it, you want the path to lead somewhere. But that decision was made. We'll continue to work with the state on what improvements can be made to those structures, and the location was dictated by other utilities that were already in the road that we had to avoid. So
in this new phase, then, can we, try and address that so that they're more seamless? Or they're in the middle so that the cars will straddle them?
So the design is complete, but we will have that conversation with the state. Like I said, we did raise that concern under phase 1, that it was not, as you said, a smooth transition. So
My suggestion is they hire a Swiss construction supervisor, because they have them when they build a national road, and they're seamless. I mean,
right,
has
but
to do with putting down the macadam or whatever.
yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, and if you've driven on any of the roads that have been part of phase 1 of the wastewater project, you will find similar issues. So we are continuing to work to try to address it. Yes, Russ?
This may be too early a question, but with the work, once it's completed on 151, there will be sidewalks on all major roads in Mashpee except for the route between eastbound from the rotary on 28. Any consideration in the future, maybe? Any talk about it?
So Route 28 is a state-owned road. So we have had a conversation with the state, and as part of the rotary retrofit, they will be looking at pedestrian improvements up to at least the Meeting House Road intersection. The state has done a road safety audit with the commission, looking at other sections of Route 28, which would include bike and pedestrian accommodations. Mashpee is not on their list. I think they've been working westward from Barnstable. So it should be in the future, but not the immediate future.
Just in the short distance, you would have two major condominium complexes right there. Sea Oaks and Summerwood.
Yes.
And with no actual way for people to walk into the common
Right.
zone.
Yeah, so like I said, as part of the rotary retrofit, they'll at least bring an accommodation up to Meeting House Road. But they'll continue, the state is continuing to look at sections of 28. It's just like everyone else, where is it in the priority projects and funding?
Thank you.
Brad?
Question about Red Brook Dam. Red Brook Dam will stop the traffic on Red Brook Road, and Red Brook Road provides an alternative to 28, so that I, for instance, myself, Monomoskoy, enters Red Brook Road, and I can go from there and I can get to the Bourne Bridge with never having to deal with 151 or ever have to deal with the rotary. If you block that dam, I'm not going to be a happy camper.
So we're not, during construction, there will be a time period that we are going to have to detour traffic. But by the dam is being, so what's classified as the dam under the state is the water control structure. So the water control structure that was there because of the former cranberry bog on the north side, that is going away. We'll be putting a larger culvert in to meet the state standards for stream crossings and elevating the road. So there may be, during the construction, there may be a 1 to 2 month period when we do have to shut the road down to put in that culvert, similar to what we had to do when we did a project on Quiniquisette Avenue, just to put the culvert in.
You gotta bring a lot of material in
yeah.
to raise that road.
So there will be, during construction, a detour, but once the project is complete, then you would have Red Brook with no restrictions.
So be it.
I have a technical question. You raised my curiosity when you said that the traffic light was governed by a video camera. And I was just curious, how many traffic video cameras are there in the town of Mashpee? And where are they located? Are they on lampposts, on the signal light? And how do they communicate? Do they communicate wirelessly or through a wire? So, just some
Sure.
technical
So,
stuff.
so Route 151, so we had 3 signalized intersections that were part of Phase 1. They are all now video detection instead of the loop detection, and they all do communicate wirelessly. We have a Comcast connection that we pay for, and that allows us to remotely go in and make adjustments.
Right, okay. And are they located on the lamppost?
They are on the mast arms. So if you look at the mast arms,
Okay.
you'll see,
Oh, okay,
I think
right.
each direction, for depending on the number of lanes, but there's basically a camera looking at each lane of traffic.
Okay, that's the only place in town that you
The
have this
the
kind
three
of-
on 151,
Yeah, okay,
correct.
Okay, all righty. And you had mentioned a certain number, I forget what it was, of renewable energy in town. I was just
Mm-hmm.
curious, what percentage of use that is renewable is compared to the entire electric budget? Any ideas, is it like 10%, 5%, to 20%?
So the last time I checked, and I'll have to because our energy use changes, particularly now that we're adding cooling to all of the schools, so our electric bills are going to be increasing. But prior to the HVAC projects, the town generated about 80% of what we use for electricity. Not all of what we generate, or most of what we generate, we actually don't use. It's net metered. So our landfill goes back into the grid. The town gets credit and gets paid for that generation, but we're not actually using it on site compared to like the system here on the roof, which is relatively small, but the senior center uses the electricity from that system for the building, and that would be the plan for the police station. Is we're looking at both roof and canopy, parking lot canopies. For the police station, they would use whatever electricity was generated.
Right. How much of a subsidy does the town get for installing those solar panels?
So we do it through a power purchase agreement. So we sign an agreement with the developer. So the developer owns the system. They basically get a lease from the town. And then, we, again, whether it's used on site or net metered, if it's used on site, then it's, just a decrease in our electrical bill. So right now, I think most people are paying probably a total of 20 cents per kilowatt hour for your gas supply and delivery. So we're saving on that cost if we're using it on site. With our net metering, we're getting paid, I think it's about 18 cents a kilowatt hour is what we're getting paid for the net metering.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I want to talk to you about lights again at Old Barnstable. I noticed sometimes the traffic's backed, especially in the summertime, almost all the way up to here for traffic that's heading west, right? And traffic heading east, that light for traffic turning east sometimes turns green about 8 seconds before the traffic heading west, light turns green, right? And I'm saying, why is that happening? There is such the video cameras, it should show that there's traffic. I've had to wait 3-4 times before I get to the green light when I'm on 151 in this area to get to Old Barnstable.
Right.
Why such the time lapse? Because it seems like they're keeping it green for the traffic heading east that want to make a left turn onto Old Barnstable Road. And sometimes the traffic is all clear, and yet the traffic heading east has already started, and the traffic heading west is still standing there.
So again, it's all, and we can take a look at the timing, but the phase for left turn lane varies, again, depending on what's detected from traffic. from 12 to 22 seconds. So if they detect a certain number of cars, then they will keep it green for the 22 seconds. So it'll adjust. There may not be, so that the eastbound heading towards the rotary tends to get a lot more left turn traffic than the westbound traffic at going to the middle high school. So there'll be a longer left turn period for that signal because more traffic is detected than the westbound side. So even though they're going at the same time, there might be a slight variation just because of what's detected for that left turning
8
traffic.
seconds is a long time. But let me ask you another question. When they developed 151, why didn't they make, Old Barnstable, why didn't they make a right-hand turn to go onto Old Barnstable from vehicles coming from the east going west?
So
Why couldn't there have been
sure.
a right-hand
So-
turn there? That would have alleviated some of the traffic.
So in order to accommodate the dedicated left turn on Old Barnstable, we had to lose that slip lane. So we had a certain right-of-way that we had to work within. So the priority was creating the dedicated left turn for Old Barnstable Road. So we had a certain amount of land area that we had to work with.
But if I'm heading west on 151 and get to Old Barnstable Road, there was room there it's loaded with all type of poles and lights, but they could have made a right-hand turn there.
It's not our we would have had to take additional property, right? So the Route 151 actually has a 100-foot road layout, which is, most roads are only 40 feet wide, but that intersection, we actually did have to take some property from Southport, but again, with going from a two lanes of traffic to 3 lanes of traffic, we needed that real estate.
And eminent domain, that's where you take it.
Was there any federal money used in Route 151, or was it
Yes.
all?
No, it was state and federal money.
State and
Yes.
federal, so you had to abide by regulations for both
Correct.
state and federal?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And hence getting the federal government involved, maybe that's where our manhole cover issue came from. Okay.
What kind of input do you have when projects, for instance, the one that I've been watching carefully is the, so to speak, specialty grocery store project that is going to be built down in the area where there's a deer crossing and so forth. And I just kind of say to myself, why don't they try to get some of the traffic, these folks that live in Southport area, if they're down there shopping in this specialty shop, ship them over to Jobs Fishing Road and get them out of 28. Keep them away from 28, okay? But you're gonna have to take some land in order to connect that road that leads into Deer Crossing over the Jobs Fishing Road. It would seem to me that that's an answer. Isn't there a way in which you can take land to expand roadways so that you can reroute traffic?
So I'm not sure what they've done for traffic studies for that project.
Okay.
But as was mentioned, the town does have the power of eminent domain, which can be very costly. But the town would have to get involved with, a private developer wouldn't be able, they could negotiate with a property owner, but the town would have to take a look at that and use its power of eminent domain to come up with.
So when a project gets approved by the town, you will have had a say in terms of the routing of traffic?
Not necessarily. So something like that would really be a select board decision that they would want to get involved with taking private property for public purpose.
And that's probably driven by the fact that the town would require the developer to do a traffic study.
Which I'm sure is required. I believe that project did go for a DRI with the Cape Cod Commission, or has been referred for a DRI with the Cape Cod Commission, so that is.
There's an article in the Enterprise about that whole thing.
Right,
Yeah.
so,
And they're currently doing a traffic study.
Right.
That's what I'm
Right.
reacting to, is that.
Yeah.
right.
It just seems like you gotta do something to
Yeah.
get that traffic out of there and not dump it onto 28, which then compounds the project of the Rotary again.
Right. Some of the challenges are Job's Fishing is still, believe it or not, a privately owned road that is owned by Mashpee Commons. So for the town to say we want a private developer to access a private road might, again, require some negotiation with the road owner. Yeah,
And is it a private road, is that why we all have to stop at the top of?
yes.
I figured as much. Which is such a waste of time and break.
How difficult is it to acquire land that's raw land? I mean, I can see eminent domain when people, you have to take someone's house, that's a problem. But if it's raw land, how much of a problem can that be?
It's,
You're still
you're,
taking
you're,
private
you're
land.
having to have an appraisal done, and then you're having to pay whatever the value of that land is. So raw land, that's developable can have a significant price tag associated with it. Yeah,
But they're gonna be building apartments all up there. They're doing it on one side of the road, they're gonna do it on the other
right,
side.
Matt,
of the
they,
road.
they have, that whole,
Yeah.
that whole area has a
One more
plan from
question on
40B,
Jones-
right?
Jones Fishing Road. Why do we have stop signs every which way over here? I mean, this is, the traffic coming out of Mashpee Commons, I mean, it's very little. I mean, I can see them, they getting the yield sign, but why should we have to stop?
It's,
Even when there's hardly any
yeah,
traffic coming.
that's, Brad was just asking, Job's Fishing is a private road, it's owned by Mashpee Commons, so they don't have to follow the same rules that the town does.
Don't they have to get your permission to put the stop signs?
Not on a private road, no. No,
Sorry about that.
But yet the police enforce it, and it's a private road. Think about that, because the cops are parked over there, trying to catch people going through.
yeah.
It's survival.
So you had mentioned about eminent domain a number of times, and I feel the government has to be very, very careful when they start taking private property. And so I'm curious about who puts a value on what the government is gonna pay for somebody's property. And my personal feeling is that if the government is gonna come in and take your house or take your land, they should pay you triple the value of it in order to pay you back for all the hassle they're gonna cause you to go through. So, I am very much against government taking anything, actually.
Right.
They're too powerful to begin with now.
Right.
But anyhow.
Yeah, so the town would have to have an appraisal done. So it's not necessarily your assessed value, so the town hires an appraiser that looks at the property, looks at the real estate sales in the area, looks at the developability of the parcel, and then comes up with, what that value is at its best use. So if it's a vacant land that can be turned into, whether it's commercial or residential development, they will look at that to say, right, I could turn this into 10 housing lots, which has a value of, $500,000 per lot. Therefore, that's what the appraised value of the property is.
Okay, great. Well, that sounds pretty good.
Bill,
Okay, thank you.
if we followed your advice,
Yep.
we wouldn't have an interstate highway today. We wouldn't
Th- th-
have, that's all eminent domain. But the interstate highway system's all eminent domain, they took property all over the place.
Yeah,
Point
okay.
of the matter is, without eminent domain, you can't do anything, you're
Right.
done.
Right, well,
You're stuck with whatever
the
infrastructure
bridge,
we have
the
today.
Well,
bridge
well, no,
projects
you-
will be
you would
looking
just
at
have to
eminent
pay-
domain, right?
You'd have to pay the homeowner for the hassle of having to give up their property.
Point of the matter is, the interstate
No
highway system
hassle,
today
they're
is
being
still on
paid for it.
eminent domain.
Yeah, but let's say you didn't want to leave your house.
Well, so what?
You like
That's
your
the
house.
whole-
I like my house. I don't want the government telling me I have to leave.
Well, they pay.
Talk to the
They
people,
have
talk to
it.
the people up in Sandwich that wait till the Saginaw
Right,
comes across
right.
Right,
and starts
right.
driving.
Right.
Right.
See how we're doing today.
Yeah.
You're one
Yeah.
person,
Interstate
the
highway
benefit
system
to
is
the
70
whole
years old.
town
Right.
is more significant than your happiness.
When I moved here about 11 years ago, you used to have lifeguards at the ponds. No more. They vanished. Is it because the city can't afford them, or what's going on?
So that's the rec department, but I will try to answer. There is an interest. So at DPW, we currently have 3 vacant positions. We're just not getting candidates for the positions.
Okay.
So the recreation department hires the seasonal beach staff.
Right.
They're just not getting the applications.
Nobody wants to do it anymore.
Right. A lifeguard, obviously, you have to go through certain training to become a lifeguard. And yeah, I was a lifeguard growing up through high school and college. Yeah, it's
Please don't wanna do it
a
anymore.
commitment.
Okay. It isn't, the town has the financial resources. They have job openings, but they can't fill them.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility of hire some old guys that like to swim?
Yes. There is no age. I think you have to be a minimum of 16, but there's no upper limit. As long as you can
No upper
pass,
limit. There you
as
go,
long
guys.
as you can pass the test. They have their own test that they do.
Another thing I've noticed recently, I live on Quiniquisette. When I come out of Cotuit Bay condos, there's a sign that says there, "Share the road." Take that sign down. For me to share the road with a bicycle, I have to go over the double yellow line.
It's actually a state statute, so you need to,
Well, I have to break the law.
no, so it is allowed, so you have to provide at least a 4-foot separation
There's
to
no room.
a pedestrian.
Those roads are so narrow. For me
Right.
to provide space for a bicycle, I have to go in the other lane. There's not, the road is so narrow.
Right,
In other words, again, eminent domain, widen the road. It's the only way you're going to accommodate joggers and bikers here.
right, yeah,
Basically, the shame is when they put these roads in 100-odd years ago, they didn't
Right.
think about joggers and bikers. They just simply said, we're just gonna
Right.
put barely enough room
But get the
for a
wagon
car to
through.
pass. That's it.
Right.
Well, I was
Right.
coming back from Hyannis the other day, the back way, and after the Ridge Club, we were coming along, and there's a sign, it's just a prop by the side of the road, it says, "Be careful for horses in the shoulder." There isn't any shoulder, I mean, there's just the macadam and grass. And the grass is no wider than the table, and the idea of coming around a corner and then to have a horse going along there. I didn't pass any horses that weren't out that
There's horse
time of day, I guess, but the sign that was the first time I'd ever seen it. But
Anyway, but you see where I'm coming from. These roads are so narrow, basically you can barely pass two large trucks, even 2 medium-sized cars
Right.
can pass each other. There's no room. There's no
Right.
shoulder, there's nothing.
right.
There's nothing there.
Yeah, if it's, again, it's a new state statute. You need to provide it that 4-foot clearance. If that means you need to stop to let an oncoming opposing car pass before you can safely go around them, then that's what you need to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
so Mashpee, we are looking at, improving our sidewalk network. So, we did sidewalks on Cotuit Road. We're now looking at adding sidewalks to, one side of South Sandwich Road. So we are continuing to look at that and provide pedestrian accommodation. We don't necessarily get the support from the residents on the street because, as I mentioned, it's a 40-foot road layout. So technically, that portion, that 10 feet or so, along the road is part of the town-owned property, but people perceive that as being their property.
Yes.
So they don't necessarily want the town to come in and tear that up and put in a sidewalk. But we are doing that. We're actually updating our complete streets plan to look at, where our priorities are for adding, bike and pedestrian accommodations. And then it comes down to funding, what's available for funding to construct.
Are bikes allowed on the sidewalks?
Technically, no, but, on Great Neck Road North, we just have the sidewalk. We're not gonna tell people not to bike on the sidewalk. So the more
scooters.
the more
The electric
recreational bikers do go on the sidewalks. The more serious bikers will still be on the side of the road, but, right, technically you're not supposed to on a sidewalk, but,
Because I think where I live in Florida, you're allowed to ride on the bikes on the sidewalks. So it's safer.
If you,
Right.
if you want to practice, by all means, go to Ireland, where you get to drive on the left-hand side of the road, and the wall is a foot and a half off the macadam, and you're on a mountain road, and you go around a corner, and there's a tour bus coming around the corner the other way, with it being blocked in. I mean, he's got a wall on that side. It's a little bicycle. You wouldn't dare ride a bicycle there.
Alrighty, guys, I
Right.
think we'll have to call it there.
I have another question. Do you have anything to do with the sewer system, the construction?
So that is a separate department. So DPW, if it's on a town road, we're involved because they're working, on a town road. But the planning, all of that is through the wastewater department.
Do you have any idea how far off, like, the sewers are down, like, in the New Seabury area?
So I think that is a ways off, just because obviously some parts of New Seabury are connected to their wastewater treatment facility. I don't think that the town right now is looking at that area at all. I think they're looking at so they're coming up with a new phasing plan, but the discussion was moving over to the northwest side of town, so the Hoophole Briarwood neighborhood. They were going to be looking at that section potentially next.
So you think it's like 20 years off? Or-
Yeah. Yeah.
When Jared spoke here, the sewer commissioner spoke here, I asked him specifically about the town south, the Red Brook Road area, New
Yeah.
Seabury out Red Brook Road. Because we were talking about a paving project, he basically said 12 to 15 minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And one other
Yeah.
question. I was reading in the Enterprise about one of the things it was gonna come up at the town meeting, but they took it out, was a marina at Aquay Bay. It was like 4 or 5, more than 4 or 5. Do you have anything to do with anything like that?
Not specifically. I know that has been discussed, but that would involve significant dredging in that area to accommodate a marina. So I think that's one of the issues is, that needs to be addressed prior to doing anything with the marina at that location.
Is the town gonna continue investigating that, or?
I cannot speak to whether or not. I know that there are members of the Waterways Commission who are very much interested in developing that as a marina, but like I said, it would require significant dredging, which is a permitting
huge dredging.
permitting nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it such a
Aquay is
nightmare?
very shallow.
Because you're dealing with the Army Corps of Engineers,
Yeah.
all of the state agencies, because of obviously the scope of the work.
Well, I don't know about I know that where I used to live, they did a lot of dredging in Fire Island.
So,
And they worked with the.
So
Army
there's
Corps of
so there's
Engineers for years.
maintenance dredging. So the town does do maintenance dredging along Papaneset. That has already been permitted, so you're now just doing maintenance. This would be a new permit that you would have to file and go through that process.
It's probably years
So
old.
state and federal agencies, yeah,
12-year plan.
Not in your lifetime.
No?
right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Catherine, thank you so
You're
much.
welcome, thank you.